Having your wildest dreams come true. All your years of hard work pay off, and you make it to the Olympics. But what happens after the games are over? You may find this hard to believe, but psychologists say 1 out of 3 U.S. athletes comes home with a severe case of post-competition letdown. Tonight, the story of one medalist for whom even winning wasn't enough.
People don't realize when you hit the water from 10 meters, you're going about 35 miles an hour. You got to grab your hands like this and punch a hole in the water. And even when you do it right, it can hurt.
So it's not one of these little numbers.
No.
I mean, it's brace yourself for the impact.
Yeah, you see a lot of injuries up there.
Up there is the 10-meter platform, 33 feet above the water. As you're watching this, just imagine jumping from the roof of a 2-story house or from 3 floors up in most apartment buildings. For U.S. diver Scott Donie, rocketing down like this was wildly exhilarating.
I always had this extreme view of diving. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. I mean, it's what made me live.
And 2 summers ago, Scott was living an Olympic dream.
That was a great start for Scott Donie.
But exactly 1 year later, performing exactly the same dive, he was frozen in his handstand for what seemed like an eternity, while thoughts of danger and self-doubt raced through his mind. An Olympic athlete teetering on the emotional edge, in full public view.
The crowd started cheering, "Come on, let's go, come on, Scott." Everyone was confused, they didn't know what was going on.
What was going on was a full-blown case of post-Olympic depression.
About 6 weeks after the Olympics, after I started to get back to training, I felt this sense of futility, of hopelessness, where I just kind of felt like there was no point to life.
Were you having a crisis emotionally?
Yeah, definitely. You're sitting there, and suddenly your body will just feel like a bad hangover. You start to question everything about yourself, about life. I would take a lot of naps because that was the only relief that I had from it.
How had Scott Donie's world turned upside down? How had he lost control over something he had mastered to such perfection? The answers, in part, lie back in Barcelona.
This dive, reverse 3.5, is the hardest one being done today.
Oh, yes!
Look at his mom! She can't believe it! I have never seen Scott Donie do that dive like that. Back 1.5 somersaults, 3.5 twists. This is for the silver medal.
Oh, ho, ho. You can feel it around your neck. It is heavy, Scott. You'll enjoy it.
I felt like I was a mile high. I mean, nothing could touch me.
How did you visualize life after the Olympics?
I had friends telling me that, if you win a gold medal, you're an instant millionaire.
And a silver medal?
I assumed that a silver medal would at the very least, lead me to a lot of opportunities.
And some money.
And some money, yeah. I mean, I was driving around Fort Lauderdale. I was living, looking at houses. I mean, just in my own little world, I didn't tell anyone this or anything, but I just had big dreams, of what it would be like.
Scott says there's an understanding among Olympic athletes that to capitalize on a medal-winning performance, they have to move quickly. They know the spotlight only comes once every 4 years, and if they don't cash in soon after the Olympic torch is extinguished, their shot at endorsements and career opportunities will burn out too.
You only have about 6 weeks before this excitement of the Olympics dies down, and then, you're going to be on your own.
But Scott was on his own even during those 6 weeks, choosing not to hire an agent who might have helped sell him to the business world. He wrote to several companies himself, including a sneaker manufacturer, whose products he used during training.
And they sent me a free pair of shoes, which is great. I mean, I can't complain, but
no deal.
But Scott Donie's depression went well beyond the endorsement deals and career opportunities that never materialized. He missed those tangible rewards, but much more painful were the emotions he felt inside after achieving a goal he'd trained for and fantasized about his whole life. He'd climbed to the top of his world at age 23, only to feel betrayed by his own dreams.
The main thing I thought the silver medal would do was make me happy, and that didn't happen.
Scott was suffering from a post-achievement syndrome that's prevalent in the sports and entertainment worlds, where skyrocketing success at a young age can backfire. Sports psychologist Rob Gilbert.
There's a motivation quote, if you shoot for the moon and miss, at least you'll be one of the stars. Well, also the flip side of the coin is if you shoot for the moon and get it, you might crash and burn.
Scott started diving at age 8. At 11, he qualified for his first national championships. By 14, he won the national title for his age group. But his goal from the beginning was the Olympics.
When I was 10 years old, I wrote a paper about it for my class. I predicted that I would be in the Olympics in 1988, and I just missed that one. But my dream did eventually come true.
But when he woke up, unfulfilled and unhappy, his life started to fall apart.
I was definitely in a cycle of self-destruction. My diet was terrible. I was drinking too much. I was smoking. I had no regard for my health whatsoever.
And during his darkest period, little regard for his own safety. On a rainy night in January 1993, less than 6 months after his silver medal performance, Scott took a turn too fast on the Florida interstate, his car hurtling out of control.
My car jumped over one of those concrete walls and started to roll. At that point, my car ran into this huge pipe, construction pipe. It fit so perfectly that it stopped my car.
You virtually walked away from
I
yourself?
crawled right out of the window with the pipe about 6 inches from my head.
The state trooper told him he had a seatbelt and a guardian angel to thank for being alive.
Scott's mother, Judy Donie, wonders to this day if her son's accident was suicidal behavior.
On the phone, I even asked him one night, would you do anything to hurt yourself?
I never really was at the point where I was going to kill myself. But when you wake up in the morning and you feel bad until you go to bed, you know, it's something you're going to consider, you know, because it seems like a way to get out.
And Scott was routinely putting himself in danger because despite his physical and emotional deterioration, he continued to climb his way up to the 10-meter platform, haunted by a voice inside of him that was getting louder and louder.
It was a self-destructive voice in a way. It was just like, screw that, you know? Screw this, you know, look where it's left you. You know, it hasn't made you happy, it hasn't brought you things that you thought it would. It was angry.
And it was loudest when he was the most vulnerable, on the edge of the 10-meter platform, putting questions in his mind that would unnerve any diver.
What would happen if, in the middle of the air, you know, you change your mind and you add a twist or you add a foot to a dive and turn it to a fear that eventually paralyzed me from being able to practice?
You were afraid that you would try to go beyond what you'd already done.
I was afraid that I would change my mind and that, you know, I would get hurt.
San Antonio, July 1993. Unshaven, unhappy, and at least 10 pounds overweight by Olympic standards, Scott is in first place at a major national diving meet. Going into this, his 6th dive, one of the easiest he performs. But those voices are back. The dive should be over by now. He's been stuck in his handstand for 10 seconds. Seconds. His mother, shooting this videotape, wonders if he's hurt. Will he dive? Will he fall? Will he hurt himself? 30 seconds and counting.
And I just walked down, and it was hard. It was much harder for me to come down than to go.
What was going through your head as you climbed back down the ladder?
I definitely felt a big sense of relief walking down, you know, because I had come to the terms with myself that, hey, I didn't have to do this anymore, you know. I'm free of this if I want to be.
Scott's decision not to dive that day may have wounded his pride, but it may also have spared him serious injury. He stopped diving completely for 6 months. His family urged counseling. But befitting his success in an individual sport, Scott wanted to cure himself. And to some extent, he has, by shifting focus away from his own athletic glory to smaller successes.
You forgot what letter you're on?
I think cursive.
You're on like Z's, aren't you?
Since last fall, Scott has been a teaching assistant at Miami's McGlennon School for children with learning disabilities.
They have really helped me to regain my perspective in life.
How so?
You just see a little kid discover something for the first time. That's gratifying in a way that diving, could never be.
Does it help silence those voices inside of your head?
Yeah, to an extent.
With the positive voices of those kids in his head, Scott recently climbed back up the 10-meter platform and even agreed to strap on a tiny camera to give Dateline our very own water ride as he slowly rediscovers his lifelong love for diving.
I'm slowly starting to get that hunger back and that desire to do it.
Have you recovered?
Well, in a sense, I feel like I won't have fully recovered until I'm back doing what I used to do. But in another sense, I feel like I'm much healthier now. I have a healthier outlook on everything.
You made a prediction at age 10 about competing in the Olympics. You want to make another prediction today?
I predict I'll be in the '96 Olympics. If I do, you can be sure that I'll be doing it because I want to and for no other reason.
Scott Donie's taking another step in his comeback. This week at the National Diving Championships, he's competing in the 1 and 3 meter springboard competitions, but says he's not yet ready to compete again in his specialty, the 10-meter platform.